We are a band from Nashville, Tennessee. We play world folk music, and we wanted to start the showcase because we started writing a lot of these songs in our bedrooms in Nashville, Tennessee, and then we found ourselves playing these songs all over the world, and just got back from Lithuania and Latvia and Estonia and Poland and Eastern Europe and Scandinavia and heading to Japan, I think, next, and all this kind of stuff. And you find yourself writing these songs in a very specific environment, and you play these songs in a very worldly environment to people that sometimes don't really understand American folk music and American music and culture and where it all comes from. So we kind of came back to the United States, and we kind of had a different opinion about the whole thing, and it's like, you know what, we actually need to kind of break it down and explain it to ourselves. What is American folk music? What is American music? You know, I didn't realize until very recently that jazz is traditionally only American musical genre. The rest of the world really kind of followed America when we started jazz. We're going to talk about that as well. So we're going to start with a very well-known tune, a very old tune. This song is older than everybody in our band. This is called Pretty Little Miss. It's from the 1600s. Peaches in the summertime and apples in the fall. Like any other one I won't have none at all. Fly away my pretty little miss, fly away my darling, fly away my pretty little miss, come to you in the morning. Boy, that feels just right playing it on the front porch, doesn't it? Doesn't that just feel right playing it on the front porch?
So I have a question for all of you that have come to the migration of music in North America. How many of you are from somewhere else?
How many of you grew up in North Carolina? How many of you grew up somewhere else? About 50-50.
How about anyone here's parents from somewhere other than North Carolina where they grew up?
All right.
How about people's grandparents?
Yeah, about the same 50. Okay.
Your grandparents are from North Carolina too?
There you go.
Yeah.
That's pretty good compared to most of the United States. When we go over to that's a uniquely American thing as well. You know, we when you go to other countries and they ask you where you're from, they say whatever country you're in, because that's where everybody from that country was born and grew up, and that's where their families are from as well. America's from all over America.
When you go to Belgium and you ask people all the influences of Belgian music, they say it's Belgian music, right? Everything that's here is because we were here, and this is where we've stayed for generations and generations. Something that makes all of the Americas, North America and South America, so unique are our immigration and migration patterns, right? Immigration isn't just always crossing a political border. Certainly politics have created political borders in which we cross between, but humans have been migrating since the beginning of time. We're nomadic, it's what we do. And when we see multiple generations over time, we migrate for all sorts of reasons. For survival, a lot of times, right? Due to famine, due to war, due to opportunity. As we've entered into the capitalist society that we live in, we've certainly traveled. People move for jobs. People move for, financial freedom. People move to follow others, right? Once a community starts migrating, other people will come with it because we do. Birds of a feather, right? We flock together. And the cool thing when we start studying the migration patterns of humans is that we can see along with it that humans don't just bring themselves, right? We bring language, we bring culture, we bring history and oral traditions, stories, lore, we bring food, and we bring, of course, music and dance. And the connection between music and dance is always there. And I would argue that food is with it as well. All three of those kind of come together. So for the purpose of today, because the wide spans of the Americas, there is no easy way to track all of these things linearly. But we'll start with a timeline. So we're gonna actually start all the way back in the 1600s. What started happening in the 1600s that was our first migration into the Americas? The pioneers. We had the Mayflower, we have Christopher Columbus, we have all of these. We started seeing technology advancing, bringing people across an ocean. Certainly within the Americas, native populations had been migrating and moving around in nomadic ways since the beginning of time here as well. But when we start seeing Europeans entering the Americas, that's where we're going to start our story just for today. Certainly there's a deeper story within it. So I'm going to start that story a little bit with, you had all these superpowers in Europe, right? And they wanted their stake at land in the Americas. So you had a lot of the French that settled in Canada, right? That's why we have Quebec and Montreal. That's why Canadians speak French, right? They have 2 official languages, 3 actually, I think. So you have the French control there. You have the Mayflower and the Puritans, a lot of English coming in to our eastern shoreboard in what is now United States. You have a lot of Spain coming into South America. And what started happening was this race to resources. And one of the greatest resources was the Mississippi River. And once the Mississippi River was discovered, it became so important because the mouth of the Mississippi is right at the ocean port. And along the Mississippi, you have resources. You have fresh water, good cultivation, easy places to grow food, and it became this migration pattern. So we have Spanish control, actually it was French control. We have originally French control of the mouth of the Mississippi, which is current day Louisiana. And of course we know about the Louisiana Purchase that came much later. But up until that time, there was a bit of race of the land grab there. And you could plant a flag and say that it's yours. But if you don't have people occupying that space, no one cares about your flag. This is, the wild, wild Americas. So we have a bit of Spain sending people in to the mouth of the Mississippi to try to claim it. We have French trying to hold it, and we have the English that are all there is with it. And what ended up happening was this beautiful, rich culture that is now modern day Louisiana. What we get is Cajun country, right? We have the deep heart of Louisiana that still speaks French today. That all started way back then. So we're gonna play you a little Cajun number to see where all of that history kind of came today. And there's a specific dance that goes with this. It's a little bit different than a country 2-step, which is 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Cajun dance is in 4, so it's usually 2 to the right and 2 to the left. And today, the community that surrounds us in Cajun country, there's a ton of food, big potlucks, huge dance halls, barn dances, dance around in a circle and let yourself free. So if you feel compelled to dance, there's plenty of space, and we'll be dancing with you. So here's a little example of a Cajun tune for you.
Maybe if I stay for 3 more songs, and maybe if I stayed all night long, and you could walk me 4 in the morning, and maybe let me use the telephone. It'll say the ways I get away you're from, or 2 tanks of gas and a feather rum.
course, we mentioned that there was a lot going on in Louisiana at the time. Certainly we have when you get into Cajun country in Louisiana, but of course, we have the origins of New Orleans as well. So this is our drummer, Ben, over here. He's going to take us through a little bit of the other influences that came in from the South during that time.
What kind of rhythms you got going for us cooking in the back here?
Oh, man. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Okay. So New Orleans is a rich melting pot of a lot of traditions. It's kind of the birthplace of jazz. So the history of New Orleans is like in something like the 1800s when slavery was still a thing. Every Sunday, slaves were allowed to congregate in Congo Square and play percussion, just kind of hang out. And so you get that going on with the African influence of that. You have European like classical marching bands kind of going on, bringing some of those influences, and then you also have the Caribbean port trading going on. So you have all this melting pot of all these things going on in New Orleans, and people, with the Congo Square kind of start mixing these elements together with what they're hearing around, and this kind of is how jazz kind of starts. So we
Are you saying jazz started in New Orleans in that area?
I'd say that, yeah. I think that's fair to say. Yeah.
I think that's the consensus.
Yeah. I mean, some people might disagree, but I'm sticking to that for now. And so as I said, there's a bunch of marching bands at the time, and the jazz in some sense started through these kind of second line marching band rhythms. So I guess I'll demonstrate some of that. Yeah.
Tables of fine God, enjoy the ride. With lady life by my side, she might be uptight, but I'm all prize winning. Don't believe the hype of the man's of life when I seen him, we're all swimming. Maybe someday I might do the right thing. Stay on this way, beautiful every side, or we can turn it around to a night. Someday soon you'll see I do the right thing. After all, it's just a game of bad advice. When I say it won't be reoccurring, oh, to repeat the walk of shame at sunrise. Lady life by my side, she might be uptight, but I'm all prize winning. Don't believe the hype that I made so high when I say never all the swimming. Maybe someday I might do the right thing. Let's end it here, yeah. And sway on this way, beautiful every side, or we can turn it around in one night. But I sway on this way, beautiful every side, or we can turn it around in one night. Yeah, that's right. New Orleans. God, I love that sound.
Cool. So that's a taste of some New Orleans elements. Now, as I said, New Orleans has a bunch of influences kind of coming in together, especially rhythmically. And a big part of the sound is actually an Afro-Cuban kind of influence. As I said, there's a bunch of trading going on, Caribbean, and then Afro-Cuban stuff. And so one of the rhythms I'm kind of playing throughout that song is this. Not all New Orleans music, but that's a lot of like rhythm you'll hear. Now, what is this we're playing? Stop for just a second. It's kind of the first half of what's called a clave, which is an Afro-Cuban thing. So what I mean by that is there's a couple different types of clave, but probably the one you hear the most is called a 3-2 clave. So I'm going to clap this so everybody can understand what this means. Here, I'll just kind of hold the rhythm here. Yeah. So it's called 3-2 because it'd be like this. So 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You guys want to try that with me? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
You feel sexy? Everybody feel sexy doing that?
Yeah.
It's hard not to feel sexy when you do it.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that's Great. So yeah, so in the New Orleans, I'm kind of abbreviating it. I'm not doing the 2 part of it, but I'm kind of just repeating the 3 part. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So sometimes New Orleans kind of just hangs on that first half of it. But segueing into another one of our song, Kids, so the 3/2 clave, sometimes drummers might be playing that like explicitly. You might hear it on the bell or something, or sometimes you'll hear it with the cowbell. This is not a cowbell, but 1, 2, 3, and doing other stuff. While other stuff is going on, but sometimes it's not always explicitly there. You kind of just feel the rhythm. So let's try a little bit of Kids. So I'm going to demonstrate that even if that you're not explicitly hearing that pattern, you kind of feel it in a lot of African music. So I'm going to sort of start into Kids. Here, we'll start with the bell pattern. 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. If you guys want to clap along, that'd be great. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. Yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Program that showed up in class, showed me the needy and down the oppressed. Well, shout the gospel of pain you've been teaching. This silent, soulless, but empathy's breeding. Screaming, receiving the love, receiving the love, receiving all that they needed. It's all right, they're like a big keys in there, pushing you out, all our makers and season. In there. I like that clave sound. I give a little bit of South American influence on the American sound, you know?
Yeah. And then, tango, right. So a related kind of rhythm, but also its own thing, is tango. And
what's the difference between tango and clave?
There are differences, just to my knowledge right now. But how about I just play kind of tango rhythm and we'll kind of go from there. So so even with this, it's a slower feel usually, but you still hear that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. So it's almost just like kind of a slower feel. There's other characteristics that make it different as well. But at the same time, you hear the relationship of the clave, which is kind of what holds a lot of these rhythms together. So again, 1, 2, it's hard to say this in kind of the same time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
said, sit on my arse, it's a long way to wait to delegate for a spark. Sometimes sunlight wind might be made up of spare parts. You say stardust a million miles apart. Don't forget to upset the apple cart. But sometimes the sunlight wind rise to shine on, leaving down behind. No, it's the skies and everything will be just fine. That's similar and different all.
Exactly.
I think one of the coolest things about when we start getting into a lot of these rhythms from South America is, in a way, we think of them as almost Spanish now. But the reality is that the Spanish came here, gathered up a lot of this, and took it back. Even modern day flamenco is not traditionally a Spanish culture. It picked up foot percussive elements from here. It picked up rhythms and styles of dance. And obviously those styles of dance are now well into very high forms of ballroom, right? Tango is a ballroom category, prestigious of the dances, you know? So we see all of these, you know, people come, they gather, they take back, it changes, it comes, it gathers, they take back, it changes. And it's always reflected in the rhythm, the dance, and the music. Ben, is there anything else that we missed for review?
In terms of like rhythmic stuff, well, we could segue into train beats and how they actually share semblances to God to shout out. Okay, get back to it.
Ben's not done yet. He has more rhythms for you, don't you worry.
I got fun.
So we're going to take this a little bit on the timeline. So we talked about the early settlers. We talked about what happens when that happened. And early settlers, I will say, either voluntary or involuntary, because so much of the music of the Americas does come from African roots. Certainly involuntary influences, but huge influences to American music, pretty much throughout all of it. So we're going to look at the first wave of immigration, right? We're talking traditional Ellis Island. Does anyone here have families that came through Ellis Island that they've tracked back? Yeah?
Someone's been on Ancestry.com.
Where, do you know where your families were from originally? Bohemia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful architecture.
So the interesting thing about the immigration patterns in the United States is that there were really two major waves. There was the mid-1800s towards the late side of the 1800s, and that was primarily our Scots-Irish and English, right? We had potato famine happening. We had some great opportunities. We're going to see that migration come in certainly in Nova Scotia. Even today, Cape Breton and Newfoundland, it almost can sound like Irish music to you, right? Then we also see it coming in through New York, Pennsylvania, a lot of immigration ports there. And what happened is a lot of the Scots-Irish, when they got here, they went to go find something that felt similar. Has anyone here seen Outlander, gotten into that TV series? Right, so, okay, basically it's just Jamie, right? And he goes, oh, the mountains, looks like home. And they settled. And that really did happen quite a bit. And a lot of North Carolina was settled in two parts. One, by Scots-Irish, and two, by a lot of freed or marooned slave communities that found solace to hide away in the mountains. So we see these two major cultures that are coming together. We certainly have dance history from all of that, right? We have clogging, we have Irish step dancing, Scottish step dancing, Highland dancing. And then that started mixing in with other styles of dancing, and that is where we get this Appalachian style, North Carolina, mountain clogging, really percussive types of dance. Later that turns into tap dancing. We'll get to that, don't you worry. But we're gonna look at kind of the first wave, this Scots-Irish influence, all these tunes that came over, fiddle tunes. Certainly this is also where we get to the heart of the banjo, which obviously has influenced folk music, the invention of bluegrass and old time. All these things came from African instruments kind of morphing with a lot of these other styles of music and dance. Yes, we have a question. Well, no. So starting in the early 1800s is when we see the first wave of like Ellis Island level immigration into the United States. So that would be the settler time, absolutely. So a lot of the early settlers that came in, getting large land grants, that certainly came over. Exactly, yes, for sure. And that all came over, Mayflower style, right? So a lot was coming over then. We do start seeing sort of this official immigration process. Once the political borders start getting involved, we see kind of at mid 1800s is where we start seeing the port of Ellis Island, people signing their names, where people are tracking their family history and that kind of stuff. But yes, you are correct, for sure. All right.
Do a little bit of music from that era. Show people what it looks like when they come down the mountain.
Then we start seeing the clogging that comes in, right?
That was like the beginning of it, but my family came over in 1906. It was already at the end of the 1800s. My family is all from Poland, and my grandmother told me to find me a nice Polish girl when I was growing up, and so I did. I made my grandparents happy and found myself a nice Polish girl. So Meredith's actually also Polish. And when we get to go back to Poland, it's actually a pretty unique experience to get to play these songs back over in Poland too, and show them what American music has done to some of the cultures we're talking about, and then bringing it back over to them. It's kind of like watching wine get made in whiskey barrels. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. We did. They don't actually understand polka music all that much over there. The polka was something that they kind of created over here. It was something my grandparents listened to every Sunday in the morning show, and they thought of those people as gods in the eyes of music. And we're going to play some of God's music now. We're going to do a little bit of our own polka music, right?
Can I share a little bit more about that?
You're more than welcome to.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. The polka, as we know it, where do we think the polka comes from?
Poland.
Yes, we do think that.
Am I wrong?
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
It does not.
I'm always wrong.
Which explains why whenever we try to play a polka in Poland, in our attempts to connect with the local folk, they look at us like we're crazy. So
We are crazy.
We are crazy, but for different reasons. So I decided to go down a little bit of a research binge. So the polka really came from Bohemia, which would be modern day Hungary, Czechoslovakia. And that style of that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, it really started spreading throughout Europe, and we see it even in classical composers, right? When we see the mazurka and we see all these other classical dances that kind of show up in classical music, Dvorak and even Tchaikovsky used a lot of it. We've got the great ballet that's going on. All of these influences kind of happening even on the high echelon of, European class and royalty. Yes. Gypsy music. Yeah.
And Romany music.
And Romany.
And Romany music as well.
Yeah. So we are certainly seeing migration happening even within Europe. Now, the second largest wave of immigration into the United States started around in the 1880s and continued through the early 1900s. And more people immigrated to the United States during that time period than any other period in the United States. And most of that second wave, as we were talking, Scots-Irish was early settlers into the mid-1800s. Certainly they were still coming, but what we started to see was an increase in German, Italian, Polish. The Irish are always coming. We can assume that there's always Irish coming.
The Irish are always
They
here.
never slow down, and we love them for it.
When the Irish are in a room too.
But what's interesting about actually polka music is that in the United States, it hit a surge of popularized music after World War II. And it was made popular by the polka king, Mr. Frankie Yakovich, who wrote probably a lot of Roll Out the Barrel, She's Too Fat for Me, which we're not allowed to sing anymore.
That's 2025 coming insane.
Who Stole the Kishka, which is one of our favorites. We actually love to cover that song. Yes.
If you guys have been to a wedding in the last 30 years, chances are you've heard a polka song.
Yes, absolutely. But a lot of this also came from this wild, crazy instrument called the accordion. Anyone here play accordion? Did you grow up playing accordion? You have a tattoo of an accordion! That is amazing.
Do you want to come up on stage
That
and
is
explain to
dedication.
people how the accordion works? Can you come up here and actually help us out on this?
He needs to jam that little accordion with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we usually have the banter during all of our shows that you didn't wake up and expect to hear polka music.
You
but ladies
did.
and gentlemen, she woke up this morning expecting to hear polka music.
That is incredible. So the accordion was actually invented in 1822 in Germany. So it's not a very old instrument. It comes from Chinese instrument influences, certainly a mesh of a lot of things as a squeeze box. But it very, very quickly became popularized all through Europe. Quickly it entered Irish music, right? We see the squeeze box in Ireland for sure. It's like, yeah, the concertina is your big classic one. And that also made its way into classical music, obviously in polkas. It came over once it kind of infiltrated the Irish music scene. It came over. It's a huge part of Newfoundland music. Not so much Cape Breton. Cape Breton got the fiddle, but Newfoundland got the squeeze box. We definitely see it in Cajun music, right? You really can't hear Cajun music without hearing a bit of an accordion in it. And then certainly another place where an accordion is really popular is mariachi music, right? So that Tejano scene. If you ever go down to Texas and you go just a little north of Houston, you will find yourself in one of the largest Polish communities in the United States. We don't think of Texas as having a lot of Poles, but there are.
Different music, same accordion.
Yep. Texas
right.
border. Yep.
That's right.
So we can see
Hey,
kind
if
of
I grew
that.
up in Germany, I'm moving to Texas. I get it.
We can see that everywhere, but the heart of Polish music, really the polka, as we know it today, this kind of German Polish polka, is very much an American sound, ironically, even though it came over. And certainly Northern Ohio, you've got Hamtramck in Detroit, Chicago, and obviously Greenpoint in New York, Pittsburgh.
Basically the whole Rust Belt.
Yep, the Rust Belt, which we will certainly talk about next. But let's play some polka music.
Bringing polka back. Let's bring polka back. To the NFT Owners Club. It's new gold and standard from above. Comic day, you never listen.
protected by the council of dirty right scoundrels. Goodbye, Val, on antitrust. High times in the old town, and I got a feeling in oxygen to reignite. High times unite. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Can you polka?
Sits inside an empty room with the walls she knows so well. Coming for her and stolen hours of it to sing away. She knows you raise a man.
I'm a show to sing along to misconstrue. Decide what to tell. Paid by numbers.
That's right, that's the correct way to dance the polka. There you go. You look like you're a bull in a china shop. That's polka music. High times in the old town, and I got a feeling in action to reignite. High times unite. I think they want to keep doing some polka music. You want to do some polka music?
Well, we'll play you a sample of a Frankie Yakovich tune. The man, the myth, the legend who popularized polka music in the Americas.
Here you go.
Someone stole the kishka, someone stole the kishka, someone stole the kishka from the butcher shop.
Who stole the kishka? Who stole the kishka? Who stole the kishka from the butcher shop?
Round and firm and fully packed, it was hanging on the rack. Someone stole the kishka when I turned my back.
Who stole the kishka? Who stole the kishka? Who stole the kishka from the butcher shop? Make the grandparents proud.
Amazing. Well, that takes us into, the mid 1900s, which what we start to see is the Industrial Revolution kind of sent everyone on a migration pattern yet again, and kind of leads the way to a lot of the modern music that we have today. So to help us with that, we have our amazing bass player over here. This is Mr. John Kadeen, going to walk us through.
So I'd like to talk about a period of history called the Great Migration. This occurred from about 1916 to 1970. Some 6 million African Americans moved from rural areas to cities, mostly from the south to the north and the west. Of course, they brought with them their culture and their music, and I want to talk specifically about blues and how that changed in these new environments. So why did they leave in the early 20th century? Well, there were a number of issues in the South. Many tenant farmers worked as sharecroppers, so they would work land they didn't own and have to pay part of the crop as rent. So typically this cycle left them indebted to these landowners over many generations, and prevented them from gaining any kind of economic independence. There were also Jim Crow laws throughout the South during this period, so white and black people had to use different facilities for most public aspects of life. Bathrooms, transportation, hospitals, schools, even drinking fountains. Usually the African American facilities were inferior in many cases, they were not equal. Also, there were white supremacist groups operating during this time in secret. I mean, even the KKK did disband in 1869, but continued to operate secretly throughout the South, intimidating and causing violence to African Americans. So there were clearly reasons to leave, but what opportunities did they have in the North? Well, with the advent of World War I in 1914, you had less European immigration coming to the factories in the north. And so a lot of these factory owners wanted African American labor. So African Americans went north. They worked in factories, slaughterhouses, railroads, automobile industry, and they could make more money up there. Typically 3 times as much money as they were making as sharecroppers in the South. They moved to many of these Rust Belt cities like New York, Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago. And I want to talk about Chicago specifically as it relates to the blues. So let's see. Guess we'll jump to that. But yeah, basically during the 30s and the Great Depression, there wasn't quite as much immigration happening. In the 40s, though, with World War II, you had a lot more African Americans moving once again to the north and the west to work in these factories and just to find different work up north. A lot of these jobs were not easy. I mean, there were many hardships up there. The industrial jobs were backbreaking. They were dangerous. A lot of women didn't have as many opportunities. They had to compete with each other for domestic work. There were no Jim Crow laws, of course, up north, but there was racial tension. Oftentimes, housing costs and restrictive housing rules made it difficult to even find a place to live up there. All right, so finally we get to the blues. So how did this change in the new environment up north? Well, there were a lot more hardships up there, so there was new material to mine for their songs. So with new environments, you get new stories as well. People brought, many traditions, not just blues to the northern cities. They brought ragtime, zydeco, country music, and all of these combined with the blues to create like new regional styles. Musicians experimented more with rhythm, different instrumentation, larger bands using more electric amplification, which we'll get to. So what happened specifically in Chicago in the 40s is a new type of blues was created. You had a lot of Mississippi musicians who were going north because Chicago had this incredible music scene. There was all this talent up there. There were new trends, bigger blues bands, more people using, electric amplification for guitars and basses. So I want to talk about just a couple of musicians that kind of spearheaded this scene up there. So first of all, you've got Muddy Waters. I'm sure you've all heard of Muddy Waters. He was raised near Clarksdale, Mississippi at the Stovall Plantation by his grandmother. So in the Delta, he was influenced by a lot of the Delta musicians, people like Robert Johnson, Robert Nighthawk, Son House, of course. So he moved to Chicago around 1943, and there he started embracing, electrical amplification. And his band quickly created a new subgenre known as Chicago blues, also called electric or urban blues. And you might know some of his tunes, which are standards: Manish Boy, Baby Please Don't Go, Hoochie Coochie Man, Louisiana Blues. So another important person in that movement was Willie Dixon, another Mississippi native from Vicksburg originally. They call him the poet laureate of the blues because he wrote probably over 500 blues songs in his lifetime, many of which are standards people still jam on today. He was a skilled singer, incredible upright bass player, amazing composer. So he moved to Chicago around 1936. He got a job with Chess Records, maybe you've heard of Chess, in the 50s. So he was a producer for them. And during that time, he worked with just about everybody you could name from that period. Muddy Waters, of course, Howlin' Wolf, Little Walter, Coco Taylor, Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, Buddy Guy, the list goes on and on. Some of his biggest hits were tunes like Spoonful, Backdoor Man, You Shook Me, Wang Dang Doodle, even Whole Lotta Love, and so many others. So from here, this new kind of electric blues influences rock and roll directly. In the 50s, we have, artists like Chuck Berry. He was a huge fan of T-Bone Walker and kind of took the up-tempo boogie-woogie style of the blues, used that in his own music. Elvis from Tupelo, Mississippi, of course, grew up listening to the blues there, and in Memphis, where he first recorded at Sam Phillips Recording.
I've heard of Elvis.
Yeah, many people have, Adrian, the world over. They know about Elvis, they know about Memphis, Tennessee. It really is one of those towns you can mention just about anywhere in the world and they know about it. So Elvis, the blues is in his music too. He combined it with country music, pop music, gospel music later on. We're getting to the home stretch here. So across the pond in the UK, the Brits were also really taken with this music. So a lot of young British musicians were listening to the blues, this electric blues in the 50s, the 60s. The Rolling Stones, I didn't even know this, actually took their name from a Muddy Waters song called Rolling Stone. So many other great bands of this era, a lot of which we consider to be kind of the great like classic rock bands. You got the Yardbirds, Cream, John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, 10 Years After, the Animals, Fleetwood Mac, Led Zeppelin. They all covered these blues songs and took what they heard in these records and incorporated in their own music. So at the end here, so many people keep this tradition alive today, right? I mean, we've got artists like Eric Gales, Robert Craig, Gary Clark Jr., Tedeschi Trucks Band, Samantha Fish, Christone Kingfish Ingram, who's from Clarksdale. We even got a few of the old guard from the 50s scene that are still around. Buddy Guy, Charlie Musselwhite, and this is a tradition that's still very much alive today. There you have it. I've not talked into a microphone in my entire life.
You're doing great, man. You're doing great.
Man,
You're doing great.
Welcome to our band van.
I got an idea. I know we wanted to do kind of like a shuffle thing, but I think we should do a little bit of one of our tunes called Even.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because the blues, it keeps evolving, right? I mean, you may hear elements of blues in the songs. You may not, but they're there.
You guys want to hear a contemporary blues song? We'll do some contemporary.
Let's play our blues song.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Can't find the moment to breathe with something I believe in. Ain't much left to achieve, I try to get even. Dirty water drip by the river just like my body with me. Dirty water drip by the river just like my body. This dude calls your sonny and his crew ain't got no spine in. You know control the line in. It's easy as a 9. He said between crosses and gun and bleeding over higher ground. Says see the Parker and Lyman. If you saw me, you could chime in. Did he say yes or mine in? Did he say yes or nine in? I'm good for it all skill assassination, new school wall of sand. Feeling the moment I breathe or something I believe in. Ain't much left to achieve, might try to get even. Dirty water drink by the river just like my body and me. Dirty water drink by the river just like my body. Might be a gold mine, can't see her cosign. Before you meet your end online and we turn on you on the dime. Something to this we got completely up to you A little bit of blues music with that Appalachian fiddle, y'all.
It's bluesy at least.
What about you, Jason?
So certainly we're watching this kind of blues movement happen, and there's a couple touch points that are also happening along the way. We haven't even touched on country music, but certainly that was a stopover point, right? You've got country music happening in the Mid-South. Obviously, we are from Nashville, Tennessee now, so we're so tired of talking about country music that we skipped right over it. But a lot of that also started happening on this kind of great migration up. What we also start seeing is, throughout all this time period, is the formation of jazz, which is happening in the streets of New York. It's happening in the music, it's happening in the dance. We start with seeing kind of street performers, even minstrel music. That starts growing into these like jazz bands that are forming, the brass influx that's coming in to New York City. Then we get big band music. That's leading us to current day Broadway and obviously jazz as we know it today. What I do love is looking at the difference between clogging and tap dancing. It's one of my favorite things to look at. I'm obsessed with it. So I am a tap dancer and a clogger, so that makes sense for me. But what's so cool is you do have what's happening in the mountains, right? And when people started coming out in the mountains to get factory jobs, they brought with it that dance. Well, street performers started picking that up. They all had leather bottom shoes. I have leather bottom shoes now, but back then all shoes were leather bottomed. And what they figured out is that they could be louder as street performers and louder over a ruckus backing band if they started nailing bottle caps to the bottom of their shoes, which is how we get modern day tap shoes. Now, clogging is very, what I like to call bottom heavy, right? But once this started going from street performers into large concerts hall, we have some of the greatest tap dancers that we know to this day. I mean, all the greats are happening at this time. And what also started happening was we needed larger, flashier, bigger, louder, all these things. So tap dancing is a bit more on your toes. And is anyone here a dancer? Yes?
Only in the shower.
So I'm going to demonstrate if there was a traditional dance and tap dancing across all the ways, it would be the shim sham. Has anyone ever heard of the shim sham? So that's what I'm going to demonstrate. And that was happening in jazz dancers, tap dancers, huge chorus lines. There's obviously tons of, there's the BS chorus and the buck and wing and all these things that you can trace back to Irish and Scottish music as well. But for this, I'm going to demonstrate my jazz hand.
Some white gloves for this tonight.
I do, and a top hat.
Oh yeah.
And then you can see the influence in like traditional dances like the buck and wing, which I'm a little I'm carrying extra cargo these days, so go easy on me. So that kind of leads us into what we know as jazz today, jazz and blues and swing and all of these things. So we're gonna take you out with this. We might even play a swing song if we have some time. But until then, I want to say I'm Meredith, this is Adrian, this is Ben, our drummer, this is John, our bass player. We will be performing at the dance tent tonight, 8:30 to 10, and we will be dancing the whole time. So I do hope that you come and find us. Stick around after this if you want to chat more. We're all nerds, so we could talk about this all day long.
And thank you guys for coming to our first ever thing at Shakori Hills ever. This is our first time here ever. We had no idea what to expect, and you guys are a bunch of weirdos, and it's a lot of fun. Our kind of weirdos, yeah. I'm wearing the wrong kind of pants, and by wrong kind I mean pants at all. Well, she's the devil of a woman, she's the devil, not her, somebody else. She keeps the demons weighing around for you at home. For you at home. Yeah, crank the fan while I watch the wind blow. I got a firefighting engine, folks, a firefighting engine, folks, a firefighting engine. For when my patience goes and it starts the show. And yes, not no, maybe or no. Maybe or no. Maybe or no. And all my life. All my life. People is gonna ring the bell. Did a bad thing. I wanna walk like you, talk like you. You bring the cheese and I bring the wine. You bring dessert, we bring the dining entertainment show. So grab the snare, you bring the cymbal. Nothing wrong with another occupation or joke. Nothing wrong with another occupation.